This is a Fordson E27N improved manifold. I suppose it was improved back in its day. Bought it off Ken, the Fordson supplier. Yeah, here we go. I've had to cut the bolts off because it was, it's pretty well at it. It's cracked along the piece out there. So I've cut the bolts off so as we can get at it. Also get the cutting torch in there to free it off a bit. Warm that up and get that moving. I've cut them off above the surface, then we can find the centre a bit easier. It's better to drill through the hollow and leave a fine tube because we want to pick the thread out. It's better to, if you're going to make a mistake, make it above the surface and dig into the casting in the wrong area. So that's a general view of it all. That's just scrap now, that's at it. I've got a spare one of them where I've machined up. Threads are good there. That one's good. They're usually snapped off. That just wants a quick tap out. I've cut the little dimple off this that indexes it because there's a row of holes here that it indexes in. I've cut that off so as we can move it when we warm it up. This, I'll probably cut this off and then just drill and re-tap it, get a bolt back in that. Soon machine another dimple on the end of a bolt, and then yeah, we'll get these sorted, face the front, warm that baffle plate up and get that moving. This side is pretty good. I might just give it a quick skim over just to true it all up. The little brass breather valves are in, and the little flaps are in them as well, both of them, and it's not cracked along the bottom. These have a habit of filling with water down the exhaust, and then in the winter they crack along here, but this one's pretty good, so we should be able to make something of it. Anyway, we'll get it set up on the milling machine and get going. Right, we're over at the milling machine now. We've got it bolted down to the table. We use, it's on the flat of the table, where it is as if it was bolted up against a tractor block. We've pinched it down with some toe clamps. I've just had to use them because the threads weren't quite long enough to get the nut to bolt tight down, so I've just packed it out with a toe clamp. It's good and solid now. So yeah, we can do some work on it now. Right, these threads are 3/8 UNC. Now, according to the tap book, I did have it on the page, but it's shut. Anyway, basically, in modern terms, it's an 8mm hole we want. An 8mm tap size, drill size. Right, so I'll probably use a 2-flute cutter for this because it's it's a bit more rigid than a drill bit. Drill bit might just tend to wander off. Like, it's a bit easier to like put a flat on it as well, ready to bore down through it. So 2 flutes. 4, 3, 2s, yeah. Anyway, I'll dig through this lot and find a 2-flute cutter, and then we'll be ready to get going. Now, see how we've found the centre and it's just peeling it off like rings. I'm feeding it up with the knee. And just as we keep going down, or the table keeps coming up, see how it's just picking the thread out of it. we keep going like that, in fact we'll drop it down so you can see. It's even unscrewing the thread as we're going in. Right, now we've finished that, I can talk to you now. The machine's off. It's a bit noisy when the machine's running. Now you can see we've got all the muck out the bottom of the hole, the rust, but if you can see, we've just left a thread in the slots, so we can pick that out and then just run a tap through it. It should be good to go. Now I picked out the first bit of thread with a pair of long nose pliers, just fished the first bit out. It broke off, it doesn't matter, it's just enough to get the tap started in the original threads. You know, looks pretty true, both planes. And for the length of depth that we need here, it's only an old casting anyway, so we'll give this a tap out and show you the end result. And then we've just got to get it right another 3 times. There you go. They're that's the original threads. We've not we've not put a bigger size in. They're the original threads picked out, and they've come up a treat. Like I say, to get your cutter, you can eyeball it. Don't need no fancy gauges, just get it in the 2 planes, there to there, turn the cutter back to front, hollow the centre out. As long as you're hollowing that centre out and not going over the edge, you'll always win. Now this one was a little bit more awkward because the head had rotted away more. You know, it wasn't a full round piece of stock like that, so it was a bit more eyeball. So what I've done, I went through, and when you get nice curly swarf that looks like the thread coming out the hole, you know you're in the right place, and also the brown rust coming out as well. It's the rust that seized it in. Anyway, I'm using a spring-loaded centre. If you didn't know, the little dimple in the top of your tap is for a spring-loaded centre to line up on. So if I just set that back up, yep, and then put a bit of pressure on it, lock the coil, and that is following the hole you've just machined. It's all in perfect alignment, and it's holding your tap straight in both planes, that way and that way. You can use these in a drill press as well. They are the original threads. As you can see, there's still a slight bit of rust in them, but we've gone exactly where the original threads were. So when we put the outlet back on, it should fit perfect. Anyway, that's that bit done. The next stage, why it's set up like this on the mill, bolted down flat, is to face this. It's going to need quite a bit taking off here. It's quite bad pitted. Anyway, last year we cleared out an engineering works that was going under, and amongst it all I picked up this Walter tool holder, and I've managed to get some carbide inserts for cast, and they are WTL71, and this is a Walter F2042 32mm diameter cutter, and it was just thrown in a box as a job lot. I've had to buy the tips for it, like, so you know, it's basically, we're gonna get cracking with it. This will be the first time I've used it, so I'm interested to see how it turns out. So we'll get that installed, and you know, it'll skim along there nicely. Well, that's the finish we've got. It's come out quite nice. It's left a nice crosshatch pattern in it. Yeah, there is just one little bit there that hasn't cleaned up, but it's an exhaust, you know, the smoke blows up the chimney up the other end, so it's plenty good enough. It's a damn sight better than what it started out as. Wonder how many years it is since this thing's been hot. Typical, this is seized up, but anyway, we'll do something with it. So yeah, I think I might just flip it over and skim the back side of it. I might just give it, I don't know, I'll have a look. I'll polish it up with the wire brush on the grinder and see how good it is. But anyway, we're getting on with it, putting the newness back. The Walter cutter held out well, you know, it's you know, not even, you know, look at the chips, not even took the coating off them. Focus, there we go. So that was a nice little find in that factory clearance job we did.